Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Batwoman. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, let's talk about the core aspect of this episode, and that aspect includes, we're circling around Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze is actually dead in this continuity. Once again, knowing who's alive and who's not. But this is pretty deep into the Batman lore. So it's not like these are early days. It's no, a lot of his villains are already established. Once again, we know, last episode we learned that, Killer Croc is dead, granted with nothing to do with Batman. I don't know if they ever specified what happened to Mr. Freeze in this continuity. They just said that he died, because he actually died before Nora came out of the cryo. Which I also love Luke's line of right, he's got a doctorate and all this stuff, and he still referred to himself as Mr. Freeze rather than Dr. Freeze. But to be fair, Captain Cold wasn't a captain. So it's perfect timing too, considering, Captain Cold made some appearances, spoilers, in this week's episode of Legends of Tomorrow. So that's very befitting timing for that. But at the core of it, it turns out Nora... and I don't know if any other stories have tapped onto this, because I think there have been stories where Nora has died, like his attempt to save her has failed. There's other instances where he has sacrificed himself. Because there's the episode, once again, spoilers, of Harley Quinn, I want to say last season. He sacrificed himself to make sure that she survived. So I think that might be how that plays out in the animated Batman the Animated Series. I don't know if that's how that typically plays out in the comics or not, but he didn't even get to see that. I mean, I guess maybe a lot. That's it. I think it's just a tragedy of their story, of just them always being torn apart. It is probably one of the most tragic tales. Love stories you'll find. It's a beautiful yet sad story of a man trying to do everything he can to hold on to the woman he loves. And so, because it's always been that's been one of those movies, it's even one I suggested, but I know people have also thrown it out there, if a villain movie to get the Joker treatment is, kind of do what they did with the Joker, there have been talks about doing that with Mr. Freeze. I mean, he hasn't been done any, live action-wise, this is the next thing they've done anything with him since Arnold Schwarzenegger in, wasn't that the Schumacher movies? But regardless, God, I went on a whole tangent there, but yeah, it's sad to find out because there was a after effect of Nora being the serum that that Victor used. It kept her from aging that entire time. But the moment she came out, she's actually 34 years old, but she's rapidly aging. Her age, she's doubling in age, and she's it's only going to be a matter of time before I'm 120 something. She looks like an older woman. So she's probably about the same age as her sister, but now she's dying from it because she's rapidly aging and her body's giving out. Because it turns out when all the Batman trophies got released, and they were, because a kid found a canister of it, and they checked into GCPD's evidence locker, and it's gone, which immediately Ryan's no wonder Batman has his own trophy case, because it's to be fair, Gotham is the corrupt city that it is. To get access to any of these weapons, it would involve someone having to break into know where the Batcave is, break into it. Gotham in general, it's got a whole bunch of supervillains and just gangs and people who would want to take advantage of all these items. There's that. But two, GCPD's also had its own corruption over the time, so that's always a staple for the GCPD. So you can't trust these items in anyone else's hands. But Bruce, I guess, felt I'm the only one that can trust. I can only trust myself with these items. So, but obviously, we never got to find out who it was, but someone did say the actress who's the main bad guy this episode. She's the actress who played Ivory and Van Helsing, which I'm dude, because she's been in the show since season 2 was her first season, I believe. Yeah, that's when the sisters popped up. I think she's been in most of the show. Regardless, I don't think they even said her character's name in the show, but she brought up the fact that she has a client. I was wondering if it was that douchebag dude at the beginning who was waiting for the bus. He was man, this city is awesome or something. The moment he saw the bus freezing, because I guess for him, at first I was why would you say that? Like, I thought he was going to take advantage of it, but now in retrospect, it's like, no, because the douchebag missed his bus, and he's almost like, ha, karma, I pay my taxes. I was like, oh man, there's justice in it, like some BS like that. But it's because a kid got his hand on one of Freeze's canisters and released it on the bus. We never actually found out, did anyone die up there, or did it just freeze the bus and they were kind of trapped in there? So it's probably like, right, get out of there before you like freeze to death type of thing. But she talks about she has a client that wanted it. So I'm curious, is there going to be something connect, like, since Jada's getting introduced this season and everything, Ryan's mom, I get the feeling like she's probably at the heart of this. She might be like the middleman for like some other like person, because somebody's getting up all these villain trophies and stuff like that. Because once again, Poison Ivy is gone, and now it's like there might be somewhat like, because obviously we've seen them fall into other people's hands, but there might be some central person that's trying to gather up as many of the trophies for themselves. So we'll have to wait and see where things kind of go from there. But she does say she has a client, and we never got to find out who it was. But obviously, the freezing situation isn't a perfect situation because, you know, Nora brings up her circumstance of like, yeah, it's not perfect. But it turns out like her sister has been like just as dedicated as Victor was to saving Nora, so has Dee. Dee's dedicated the past 2 decades to helping her sister. Like, just, you know, with Victor going, like, she's just continued it, especially because like her sister, once again, it's the rapid aging, so she's trying to freeze her sister again. That's why she got the canister again, because she's trying to freeze her sister again till they can find a way to deal with the rapid aging. Because yes, like when she finally came out in the capsule, there was a cure for the disease that she had, but now, like, you know, it's like one thing, like Victor's attempt to save her and with one thing worked, but sadly the tragedy is it doesn't matter in the end, because now like she's rapidly aging because of what Victor did to save her. And that ends up being a very like heartbreaking story in its own right too, because like obviously the time between Mary and Alice and Nora, where like Alice is threatening to kill Nora, it's like, hey, either let me go or I'm gonna kill her, which Nora's like, go ahead, do it. And she's like, wait, what? They're both of them are like, wait, you want her to? It's like, yes, because like for her, it's like, I've lived my life, like I was locked in that capsule for over 2 decades, and now this is happening to me, just like, you know, everything that was sacrificed, she, like, whether it's Victor or other people getting hurt, like, over me, and just all this, like, all for the sake of trying to save me, like, was it even worth it in the end, you know, if we're kind of here where we are right now? And it's just like, no, I just want to live whatever little bit of life I have. Like, she doesn't want to keep living on this way, like, so because especially because, like, her sister sacrificed so much of her own life, stopped living her own life just for Nora's sake, and it's like, I don't want that. Like, I mean, Victor became a villain because of her, so, like, that has a big influence, I'm sure, on, like, her decision of not wanting that. And then Alice just kind of puts down the knife, almost like, well, you took the fun out of it. Because Alice hasn't been, like, right in the head since all this, because, like, she wants the nanobots, nanites and stuff taken out of her, but it's like, we can't, the moment we take those out of you, you're going to leave Gotham entirely. And she's like, yes, that's the point. Why do you think I want you to take them out in the first place? Because Mary is trying to reach out to her and help her, but she's immediately like, no, you're just projecting because of Luke's situation, because she looked at Luke's file. So it's like, that's why you're looking. But it's like, it is interesting because Alice is the way she is. She deflected because she doesn't want Mary's kindness, because for her it's like, I don't want your niceness, because it's just like, you know, I'm trapped in this situation. It's like, well, to be fair, you created this predicament when you agreed to Montoya's decision, like, but it's because she thought like, oh, like she thought it would be her escape route, but it's like, no, like she got that that escape route got screwed over because of the nanites in her system now, because she can forever be tracked. But Mary tried to be like, because she's like, at first I was kind of upset and jealous and envious when I found out Dad was writing to you, not me. But then I found out, oh, hey, he's actually not writing to you. That was all in your head. So I felt a little bit of relief. But now she is kind of worried for Alice, because her dad did say, like, you know, both her dad and Kate left Alice kind of in her care to look after her. In particular, her dad was like, despite everything, what she's done, that is still your sister, so do look after her. So it is a situation of even Nora being like, understanding, like, there's parallels between her and Alice. It's like Alice was in a prison of her own. Like, no wonder she vibes for freedom so much, because I mean, she's been in one cage after another, whether it was Cartwright, whether it was the whole situation with Sophia that created a prison of its own, and now she's kind of trapped in a prison of her own mind. And I'm curious, is it like a byproduct of all the stuff with Kate last season? I'm wondering, did that, like, maybe this is residual effects from, like, Enigma's control, like the break wasn't like a solid break, and so it's causing like a mental break, or not, less there's something else going on here for her to see, like, all, like, she's hallucinating, like, not less she might actually be like sick, like, mentally, like, it might be a mental thing, like, for all we know, like, well, because Mary did examine her, but we don't know how thorough of an examination, where she got like an MRI and stuff like that, like her temperature and blood pressure were checked, because she was doing the almost like, I got the Black Plague pops type of thing, of like she's faking the sickness, but then it turns out there is something there, and Mary wants to help her. But I think it's a part of Alice being like, I don't want any help from anyone, especially you, because you're kind of like, you guys have the keys to my shackles. I've, like, you know, it's understandable why she's thrashing so much, because, like, she has been in one cage after another. I mean, hell, let's not forget her sister and her dad locked her up in Arkham. So it's just, once again, exchanging one cage for another, and now I'm back at this, like, she hasn't been truly free, like, ever in that time frame from... And ever since that accident was a prison of its own kind, but it's just been one prison after another. Like, Alice hasn't known freedom since before that accident. So, but Nora kind of understands that, because she was even like, right, I can tell that you're sisters because of the way that you're butting heads. Obviously, Nora never told Dee the truth about how she feels about things, because it's like, right, Dee's dedicated so much life to helping me out, and it's just like, I think it would break her heart if I ever told her the truth of, like, I just don't want to keep going. So, but obviously, the bad guys end up putting Ryan in the capsule, and the whole point is just to freeze her to death, so that freeze her long enough so that she dies from hypothermia. But you have Sophie helping her out, being like, hey, like, the fact is you went to the Bat team, you didn't confide in me. It's like, I'm a little pissed at you, because I put on in this effort to help you find your mom, and then, like, rather than talking to me about it, you talk to the rest of the team. It's like, aren't I part of this? Like, you don't really know all there is to know about me. And I love in the car ride, it's like, right, you're clever, it's like, all right, so I'll remember that about you. And you have, like, Luke being like, because after he saved Ryan, it was like, wait, are you flirting with Sophie? He said, what? No. And I was like, I know what I'm hearing. Like, it sounds like you're flirting. And then she's like, and then Sophie's like, comms, guys, they're still on. And then Ryan punches him. So I was like, which immediately I was like, I was curious about this. Are they gonna? Well, her and Kate aren't a thing. So I'm like, are they gonna set up Ryan and Sophie? I mean, well, because there's no, like, some, like, they're both single right now, so I could definitely see that being a thing. But I'm like, there seems like there's something budding there. But it also could just be like, right now Sophie's just being a friend to Ryan, but maybe there's a little bit more. Maybe, like, Ryan's kind of feeling that vibe. But I'm like, I'm curious to see if something does end up happening there. You spend enough time with someone, especially, like, Sophie's going to most likely be a huge part of her dealing with this whole family situation. So of course there's going to be something there. So I thought it was interesting when the bridge broke. I thought we were going to have, like, because at first I was like, oh, the timing's interesting because of the Batman trailer, like, when he's coming after Penguin. I thought, like, she was going to straight up boost across the gap. But it's like, nah, because I was like, oh, they're not cutting to Luke. I was surprised he's not saying anything. It's like, oh, he uses the canister to make a ice bridge, shifting the wheels over so they could go across the ice. And it's like, all right, that's pretty interesting. She's like, interesting. Wow, you're hard to please, girl. And I'm like, dude, yeah, oh yeah. There's definitely that definitely leads to, like, oh, that's some flirting. That definitely seems like that's going to be a thing at some point during the season. We'll see if it kind of works out like that, but. We haven't seen the last of them because they did get away. Luckily, they were able to save Dee. And if it wasn't for Luke, they wouldn't have been able to save the day. But Mary, because she kind of got in her own head because of what Alice said, because that's the thing. Once again, Alice is good at deflecting and turning, like, she knows she can exploit people's weaknesses. She's really good at getting in people's heads. So she made Mary feel like, oh, you're only part of the team. You're not really like a valuable part of the team. They only come to you when they need you. Like, Ryan's going to be very dismissive of you because she is the boss lady, and obviously Luke's going to have, so either you tell Luke, Batwoman, the truth about Luke's condition, or you keep it secret because you love him. She's like, I don't love him like that, because she's like trying to imply like it's a family thing. It's like, no, you have a thing for Luke. But she ends up telling Ryan what's going on with Luke, but Ryan isn't really listening, because she's like, she does bring up the fact of, well, Luke, you know, if it wasn't for him being out there with me in the field today, I would have died. But it's also the thing of, you know, we need to keep an eye on, because he's saying like he's okay, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's like I'm the doctor of the team. I'm telling you he's not okay. Like, the fact is he's turned off the failsafe. He is suffering from PTSD, whether he's willing to like recognize it or not. She's just trying to do the best she can, but it's like, for her, it feels like, right, Ryan's not listening to me, and now Luke is pissed at me. It's just because obviously she might be overprotective, but it's like understandable, like a lot, considering everything that's ever happened to the people that's been in her life. Her mom, her dad's current circumstances, what happened to Kate. Kate's okay now, but still, it's like, she's very protective of the people in her life. Understandably, like, I mean, Luke should be able to understand, you know, I mean, especially, I mean, but that's also a trigger for him too, because it's like, right, his dad's death and almost died. Like, he's still, like, let's not forget there is this situation of Luke wanted to die and he's still here. So there's an element of that I don't know if it's really going to be covered, but it's not going to be until it's too late. It's going to be a point where, like, they're like, right, we should have listened to Mary. It is a balancing act, because it's like, right, we need to kind of be on top of our game because of these items out there. So should Ryan have listened more to Mary? I mean, she is listening to her, but Mary just feels like she isn't heard. So it just fuels the point that Alice made. Especially when Mary is listening to Dee and Nora. You know, Nora opens up to Dee about, like, right, just like, let me enjoy, like, breathe the air in my lungs, you know, for what little time I have left. Like, why waste so much time trying to save? Let's enjoy what time we do have, you know? So finally opening up to her sister about the truth. So now it's the thing of, does Mary regret, like, because she was like, I had to, but Luke's like, no, you didn't. And it's like, she was doing what she thought was best for him, and it wasn't just what was best for him, it was the best for the team, which ties into, Ryan's situation, because Ryan had a meeting with Jada again, and Jada made it pretty clear of, like, not wanting to have anything to do with Ryan. But Ryan's like, if that's the case, like, if you want, then why did you bring me all the way here? Like, why even, like, cover up, like, the $2 million cover up? But she's like, it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, for her, it's like, you know, she just wanted answers from her mom. But it's like you could tell it's affecting Jada, but she's pushing it aside. Like, she's hiding behind a mask of, like, she's trying to act like the evil mother just to scare Ryan away. But there's something deeper there. Like, I think there's a part of her that's, like, regrets her decision. But because even Ryan tried to give her an out, like, right, maybe you were young, you were scared. I don't know what it was. She just wanted answers about why. But her brother, Mark, I was like, oh, this is my son, Marcus. Like, he shows up. But it turns out he figured out exactly who Ryan is immediately. Like, he learned pretty early on about their beat. Like, the fact is, oh, my mom disappeared for like 9 months, and then my dad and mom didn't talk to each other for like a summer. And he'd heard rumors about it from, like, the nannies, and then he pieces it together, like, oh, this young woman who's like a year younger than me happens to show up at this time and is able to throw my mom off her game. Like, he figured out exactly who she was. Because it's like, yeah, you had the same story as our mom, like a rags to riches type of thing of, like, you started where you started, and here you are, the acting CEO of Wayne Enterprises. And I love that he's even like, I'll give you a hug, but I know you're most likely be able to kick my ass. But she's like, yeah, but your mom will most likely do that. It's like our mom made it clear she wanted nothing to do with me, and I'm not trying to piss her off. But for him, it's like, right, we could work together. Because it's like, it's not only for Ryan's sake, it's for his sake. Because he's even saying, like, I want to take advantage of this. Like, us working together, we can show our mom what we're capable of. Because he's going to stay in, like, the executive or whatever position that he's in. But he wants to rise through the ranks. He wants to prove to his mom, hey, I'm top dog, I can do this. Which he's like, working with Ryan, we can both prove it to her. But at the end of the day, it's like, Ryan is like, yeah, he's smart, he figured out a lot of stuff, but he's also reckless. And it's like, yes, she would want to have a brother, but the problem is Jada made it clear to stay away from her and her family, and that would mean having a powerful enemy like Jada interfering with the people that she cares about. Like, for her, it's like, despite what I would want, I want a mom that I could, be there for me. Texting my girlfriend to ask her what type of song she's like. She wants that type of caring mom that loves it unconditionally, but she's not going to have that currently with Jada, if not at all. But also, it's like, yeah, I'd love to have a brother, because like for her, it's like because of my situation, I never even wanted to think of. I never really gave it much thought about what I would want from a family. But Alice kind of ripped that Band-Aid off. So for Ryan, it's like, it's too dangerous. Like, she's got to put protecting the team first before kind of what she wants, because protecting team is more, because they are like the new family she made, like the family that didn't want her versus the family she made for herself, which is a conversation that's been popping up quite a bit in like a lot of these DC shows in that regard. But speaking of Alice, we do see that her condition is getting worse, because she's seeing all those bugs crawling underneath her skin, which I'm supposed to be like bananas, but it's like, yeah, what's going on with me? So like, is it after effects of the Enigma thing? Is there some other element to it? Or could it just be like, maybe she is like, there's like a legitimate, like something wrong with her brain, like maybe she has something pressing on a part of her brain making her hallucinate, or just, I mean, she's never been the sanest person. I mean, but like, as Mary said, like, going forward, we're going to try not to use the word crazy anymore, So we'll have to see where things kind of go on that front. What was crossing my mind, though, is I'm wondering if it's not Jada that's the one doing all this, but what if it's Ryan's brother? Because I think, like, the point is not just to bring her family into this just for the sake of throwing, like, complicating things as, Ryan, and that in turn will throw her off balance when it comes to being Batwoman. But I think Marcus and Jada are going to have a big influence on both aspects of her life, just not yet, but I think it's eventually going to be a thing. But I'm thinking Marcus just trying to prove himself, like, he might go, like, evil billionaire or, like, rich dude status. He might go down that route this season. We'll see, but like, I think he's going to be at the epicenter. Either him or Jada. Because the whole thing is, like, why is Jada keeping it a secret? Because, I mean, at this point, like, because her husband is gone. Like, because Marcus admitted, like, right, that Ryan was born from an affair, which we still don't know who her dad is. But Marcus's dad is gone. That's why Jada's leading the, like, but it's like, maybe there's someone else still, like, because we don't know about her husband's family, if they're still alive, if they try and, like, do something. Well, because it was a known enough secret that they buried, so that's why the $2 million was meant to make it disappear, because it was based on an affair. But once again, maybe this will fold into something about Ryan's dad as well. But that's currently where I think things in. But it's like, you can definitely tell Jada's like holding something back. You're just not quite sure what. And then we have our stinger at the end, where Ivy's vines come and grab Mary, but the question then becomes, why? Is this associated with who has the vines in particular? Maybe they're back in rightful hands, or is it someone else at play here trying to grab her, or like, what's going on there? Because it's definitely going to be interesting to see what that ends up being, and if it's tied into some other news we've gotten about, once again, casting. There was news way before the season even started about casting for. I've kind of beat around it, but me saying what I've said is kind of already spoiler territory. There's, once again, it's knowledge out there, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. But I wanted to wait until it actually pops up in the show. But Poison Ivy was cast. It's not like a new Poison Ivy, at least not that I'm aware of. It seems like it is straight up Poison Ivy. It's been cast. Not like it is like a Mad Hatter 2.0 or a Killer Croc 2.0 situation like we've been introduced to so far. So we'll see. Because there technically was no like Mr. Freeze 2.0. So, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all this. I should also bring this up because interesting timing. There was a line where Alice referenced the working environment, and you're like, I had to pause it. I was like, ooh, I know they wrote this months ago. It has nothing to do with what's going on currently, but it's just like, man, that line plays out a little differently now, a little bit. Now, obviously, like, if you're unaware, there has been some stuff related to Batwoman that's come out. In particular, Ruby Rose has kind of spoke out about her experience on Batwoman. Now, I believe that all this was said on her Instagram, so I highly recommend, if you're curious about it, like, her perspective on things, her allegations about just what that set, the Batwoman set environment was like. You can find that on, I'm sure on the Instagram still, but also there's like, I'm sure tons and tons of articles have covered this enough that like it's probably all compiled in one place. Subsequently, I do know WB has made their own statements, as well as people she's made allegations to have also made their own statements, and it's just kind of a back and forth situation. That's where things stand. So it's still a developing situation. Last thing I heard about it was a couple days ago, maybe at the time of recording this. I'm not telling you who to pick sides on in the situation. It's like, you can't help but talk about it. It's big entertainment news. I'm not trying to stir it up like, ooh, drama or whatever. It's not about that, but it's just about the allegations that were kind of brought up about just like what went on in the Batwoman set, Ruby's position on things. But once again, like WB, I think WB as a whole, but maybe more specifically WB Television has responded to her claims as well. So that's what it is. I'm just putting it out there. I highly recommend you read both sides of it and make your own decision. I'm not telling you to feel a certain way, how to feel, who you should believe. It's, because even I'm like, I don't know. I want to believe Ruby Rose, but it's not like I'm like, I don't believe it. It's just I don't know what to believe. It's like both people, like both statements are out there, both perspectives are out there. It just, maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Maybe someone is lying. Maybe I'm not here to debate that really. It's just the information's out there. I recommend you read both sides, at least keep it fair. So that's why I'm mentioning both sides. Ruby as well as Warner Brothers and everyone kind of on that side of things of like countering her allegations. Like, so, because I didn't find out about it until, like, I think I saw something about it before the episode of Batwoman aired, but I didn't look into it till maybe, like, the day after, like, I'd already reviewed the last week's episode. So, and obviously, like I said, more stuff has come out since then as well, like, once again, the back and forth. So, I just felt like I would be remiss not to bring it up because it ties into this. So, I'll just kind of leave it at like that. Leave it up to you to decide what you decide to do with that information. So, like I said, once again, not trying to make anyone pick any sides. Just it's something that's connected to the show that has to be talked about. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live light to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.